Have you ever been doing a group project, and despite having 3 or 4 other people in your group, you feel like only 1 or 2 of you are actually doing any work? Or maybe you were the one who didn't do any work. I see you out there. Well, there's a name for this phenomenon. It's called the Ringelmann effect. This effect states that as a group size increases, the individual effectiveness of each member decreases. It was first coined by French engineer Maximilien Ringelmann in 1913, who found that when 2 teams of people played tug-of-war with a rope, each person would gradually pull with less and less force as more people were added to each side. For example, if 8 people could each pull 100 pounds individually, Ringelmann found that they would only pull around 400 pounds when grouped together, instead of the expected 800 pounds. So what's going on with this from a psychological angle? Well, it has to do with what psychologists call diffusion of responsibility. Basically, if there's a project to do or a problem to solve, people naturally assume others in their team will take responsibility and get it done. And as you've probably experienced, if a group gets large enough, little to nothing gets done, or at a much slower pace than it has to at least. This is because the responsibility has been spread thinly enough that only a select golden few actually take action. But why does this happen? Some psychologists in the 1990s tried to explain it with what they called the collective effort model, or CEM. The CEM points out that individual motivation in a group setting is determined by, number 1, their perceived ability to achieve the objective, and number 2, the significance they attach to the objective. When working in group settings, expectations are lower, and value for the goal tends to decrease, leading to lower motivation. The concept of diffusion of responsibility is not unique to the Ringelmann effect, however. You may have heard of the bystander effect, and it has much more serious and possibly lasting consequences than the Ringelmann effect does. This theory states that an individual's likelihood of helping decreases when passive bystanders are present in an emergency situation. Let's say, for example, you're walking down a crowded sidewalk. Suddenly, you walk by a person lying motionless on the ground. What do? You see others notice this person, but they're not doing anything about it. So you keep on walking, thinking it must not be an emergency if no one is helping, right? This kind of thinking is called pluralistic ignorance, and it's a major consequence of the bystander effect. Another psychological factor that affects this process is evaluation apprehension, which is the fear of being judged by others while doing public actions. This fear could be due to giving unwanted assistance, public embarrassment, social awkwardness, appearing to harm the person, or even legal consequences. The bystander effect even pops up in the Bible in Jesus' famous parable of the Good Samaritan. In the story, 2 men pass by a victim who's been brutally beaten and robbed, but the third man, a Samaritan, stops and bandages the man up. He cleans his wounds and takes him to an inn to recover. Rather than turning a blind eye, the Samaritan shows compassion and goes out of his way to help the poor man. The Good Samaritan provides a clear part of the solution to countering the Ringelmann and bystander effects, which is to simply take the responsibility on yourself. Don't assume someone else will take action, and you might find that your response provokes others to help as well. Sometimes all it takes is 1 or 2 people to break that invisible social barrier. Another part of the solution is knowing how to help others in emergency scenarios. People are less likely to help if they feel like their skills are inadequate. Learn CPR, learn the Heimlich maneuver. For Pete's sake, learn karate or taekwondo if you want. Just do something so that you're prepared when those emergencies arise. Take care.